We're going to paint a scene for you. You have your dream home where you can see the river from your backyard, but you can't get it to like you used to. That's the battle raging in a Chesapeake neighborhood. 10 on Your Side's investigative reporter Chris Horne went out and found some answers about this. Chris?
Well, Tom, several families say they can't enjoy the river as they once did because a pier has all but cut them off. The neighbor who built the pier says he had approval from all the right people. We've been looking through permits, maps, surveys, and other documents for the past month, and you can judge for yourself whether the pier is in fact an obstacle.
It was awesome. We had a wonderful 17-foot boat, had a 75 horsepower motor on it. We would throw that thing in gear and take off. We fished, we skied.
But Gail Gibson and her neighbors say that was then and this is now. Craig Groman and his wife have to work together to get their 14-foot John boat to the river.
And it's frustrating that we cannot just freely use our boats like most people would anticipate when they buy a house on the waters.
They're just one of 10 angry families who live along this creek. They're upset with the city of Chesapeake and the Army Corps of Engineers for approving the pier, and with their neighbors who built it, the Campbells.
They've canceled our ability to enjoy the river.
Chopper 10 shows us the pier. Before the fall of 2008, the inlet had just one pier, the straight one. Then Kenneth and Lisa Campbell built the angled pier next to it, leaving this much space to get to and from the connecting cove.
We all wrote letters to the Army Corps of Engineers to try to stop it.
We spent months looking for answers to questions about the approval and location of the pier. We're told because the families live on a creek that drains at low tide, they can expect to have less access to the river. The Army Corps reviews navigational access when a pier is built.
I will not say that it's not tight, but again, we took a look at the constraining factors of adjacent property owners' access, and that's the fact that that is a mud flat at low tide.
So as long as a kayak, canoe, or John boat can make it through around high tide, the pier is not considered to be clogging the cove.
It seems like we gave one person an advantage and disadvantaged 10 others.
I don't think we disadvantaged 10 others.
But neighbors tell us navigation isn't the only problem. We uncovered additional issues. Construction began 2 months before the pier was authorized by the Army Corps. About half of the pier sits on underwater city property, and the city says Campbell's initial building permit was issued in error.
Well, the primary issue that was overlooked was verifying that the pier was going to be constructed on a property that already had an existing home.
The city thought that was the case because Campbell did have a house on a lot right next door.
You use the word accommodations and working with him, but wasn't he getting special treatment at that point?
Well, we don't consider it special treatment. We frequently have cases that are unique in nature.
I would like to see the city be held accountable for their actions on allowing this to be built to begin with.
We attended a planning commission meeting last month regarding the pier being on an underwater right-of-way. Ken Campbell told the commissioners he got reassurance just this summer from the Army Corps and the Marine Resources Commission that the pier was not an obstacle.
And they have both indicated to me that I have zero navigational infraction. So we've caused no infraction as far as navigational access to the river.
If they had deep water at low tide, that would have been probably a different outcome through the permit review process.
Do you think the system worked throughout this process?
Well, certainly we would have liked to have issued the permits with the proper review initially. Doing things out of sequence with the building permit really didn't affect the ultimate location of the pier.
Neighbor Michael Cardoza says he and his mother gave up on trying to get out.
And then the boat just laid in the yard for about a year before we ended up having to sell it.
My property is still waterfront property. It was when I bought it, and it should be today.
We wanted to ask the Campbells to what extent they considered their neighbors' access when they built their pier. They declined an interview, but say they will talk with us once City Council rules on an issue related to the pier's location on city property. Regardless, though, of that decision and the permitting process, the pier will most likely remain right where it is. Both the city and the Army Corps tell me they see no scenario right now that would call for the pier to be either removed or shortened. I'm Chris Horne, 10 on your side.